Well, we also have to thank Brant Dunshea for his patience whilst we've been chatting away. He's been waiting patiently for us, the Chief Executive of the BHA. Brant, welcome to the show. In what is a very big week for the sport. We know what's happening on Wednesday, but just highlight the importance of Wednesday in relation to the issue of tax for online betting for the sport of horse racing.
Sure. Good morning, Rishi. Thank you for the opportunity to come on. Look, Wednesday is a big day, an important day for us. We cancelled racing on that day. The Gambling Strategy Committee that brings together representatives from right across the racing agreed that it was the right thing to do, in that we would create some space to bring leaders from across the sport, key participants together in Westminster to speak directly to politicians and the media about our views in relation to the consultation that has been run by Treasury regarding the proposal to harmonise the betting duties. And so by creating that space with no racing, we expect good attendance at the event. And myself and others, leaders from across the sport, will be able to speak directly to the many politicians that we expect to be in attendance.
What sort of support do you estimate the sport has within government for what we're about to present to them?
We believe we have good support in government. We have allies on both sides of the House. We, of course, have the all-party parliamentary group co-chaired by Dan Carden and Nick Timothy, who are great allies and supporters of racing, and we have other representatives across that group who are assisting us in sending those key messages. But in addition to that, we already know that we've got a good representation from across the parties who will be in attendance on the day to hear directly from us, setting out our concerns. But it's not just the politicians. It's obviously a lot of work goes on behind the scenes in terms of directly engaging with officials at the relevant departments, so Treasury, DCMS, etc.
Dave.
Hi, Brant. Dave,
yes. Hey, Dave.
Here. How are you? Okay.
Good, thank you.
I wondered, Brant, really, what the chances of success here were with regard to whether Rachel Reeves would resist what would be a very strong political urge to push duty on horse racing and probably slots up. For want of a better phrase, the man on the Clapham omnibus. If you say this government has had to row back its policy on PIP and universal credit, and now it just seems almost like an open goal for politicians to say we're going to tax the greedy bookies, cigar chomping men in chalk striped suits, and that seems to be something that I think most politicians will go for, and I wonder how the BHA and how you see this as a battle that you can win.
Look, Dave, we do believe it's a battle we can win, and there are a range of reasons why that is the case. First of all, when we look at the duty that's applied to betting on horse racing, whilst the 15% is the duty element that goes to the Exchequer, we also have to remember there's a 10% levy contribution. So we're talking 25%. So, already we say that betting on racing is heavily taxed. But the important thing, and this is what we're trying to continue to remind politicians and anyone when we're in the debate on this issue, is that we're more than just a sport. We're embedded in our national heritage. We employ 85,000 people across the country. We already contribute significantly to the Exchequer, and we bring communities together. So we are very different. And what we're saying to government is there are numerous examples globally where the unintended consequences of these sorts of interventions have led to a migration of bettors across to, unregulated, illegal betting operators where there are no protections for consumers, where there is no money returned to the sport, where there is no money returned to the exchequer. There is, there is a risk and there is a tipping point when you increase taxes like this or bring in other interventions like affordability checks, etc., that send consumers looking for alternative markets. And that's the last thing we want to happen. We want British racing to remain competitive. We want it to be a competitive product. We want our gambling operators, our betting operators to be able to operate successful businesses and work in collaboration with us. And we're continuing to tell government that increasing the tax on horse race betting would damage that.
Brant, Dave, you've got another question.
There was just one other, Brant, and that was that I wondered if what your view of the take-up in our own sport with regard to axe the racing tax. When it came to affordability checks, the signatures pretty quickly went through the 100,000 barrier. Now, the last time I looked this week, and this may have got up, but the figure was just over 12,000, and that seemed to me to be a pretty small number compared to the six figures that were pretty quickly reached with affordability checks.
Yeah, a couple of points there. We've used a different platform, so the platform that we've used in comparison to when we did the affordability check survey, it was a very different platform. It's interesting when you talk with the punter on the street, and I was chatting with different people up at York a couple of weeks ago, and I think the fact that we have ended up where we ended up with affordability checks, there's a sense of apathy around signing petitions, and I think people get a bit tired of all that. But to be honest, the petition is not, it's not as significant in the grand scheme of things. What's important is that we know that many people from right across the sport have been writing to their ministers, their local members, and their members are then taking that up on behalf of their constituents. The message is getting through to government, and I receive the responses. People send me the responses they're getting from their ministers, and those that have been received back by the ministers from Treasury and so on. So I do believe that it is, the stakeholders, the people across the sport are, largely engaged. Whilst these political issues often are difficult for people to dedicate time and energy to, I think there is clearly an understanding of the urgent need to come together and support this argument.
Brant, thank you so much for joining us this morning and being so candid, and we certainly wish you and everyone representing the sport the very best of luck with getting that message across on Wednesday.
Thanks so much, Rishi. Thanks.